So if you're listening to me on my podcast right now, I am also recording this for my YouTube channel. I am so excited. Officially a motherfucking YouTuber, bitch. Like, I am so ready for this. So my new backdrop is popping. I am going to try to get used to. We are still on the struggle bus. I'm recording this from my phone, but everything, it's okay. You got to start with what you have, and it's okay. So I'm going to try to look at the little button rather than myself. We're going to try. But thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited for this series of segments about body love and body positivity and self love and all that good stuff. I'm all about finding your worth and knowing your worth and being fully in that conviction of knowing that you are fucking bomb as hell. Okay? Regardless of what you look like, regardless of where you come from and your background, we are all wonderfully made. And I'm not super religious, but I love that phrase so much. And a high key sweating just because of all the lights and shit in here. Um, so I wanted to do short segments just because this could be a fucking 4 to 5 hour episode, a whole therapy session, a whole year's worth of therapy, and we don't have time for that. And I want to just break it down little by little because I feel like for me, I wasn't really someone who was super like I have things that I'm self-conscious about, but I'm not in general like someone with very low self-esteem. Now I have deep dove into that. Last week I tried to record this episode, but Mercury retrograde, it was in full effect already. My phone died as I was doing it, and like legit 10 minutes after that, a fucking coyote was in my front yard and left me on what the fuck for like the whole day or two. But it's okay. This was the way how it's supposed to go. I'm supposed to be wearing two in rain right now, which I am. So new merch is on the way. This backdrop is popping. We're gonna fix being able to see the windows in the background at a later point. But with me doing that first talk with myself, I noticed that it went too long. So that's why I'm re recording it and just being more specific. So this episode will be about just my beginning. And I feel like when you are in your healing journey, you must start from the beginning because you have those pre programmed beliefs from when you were a child. Um, Obviously, you get new beliefs and new um, ways of thinking how life is as you grow older. But definitely a lot of our trauma stems from, or trauma or emotional frustration, whatever it is, starts from when you were younger. And also all your beliefs because of who you were raised. And obviously you are who you surround yourself with, and when you're younger you really have no choice with who you're with, just with the people that are taking care of you. I am blessed to have been in to be in an amazing family, and I was raised by two hardworking ass parents. But because they were so hardworking, I had to be with my grandparents for the majority of my day, for the first full 15 years of my life, and also with my auntie Tita Francis. So they all three of them lived together, and as a result, all like most of the grandkids were shuffling in and out that house throughout the day because of school and just you know being need to be taken care of during the day, as all of our parents had to work. So which was fine because I had the best childhood ever. um but I do know that for me, I have never been someone with a low self esteem. And I've always had insecurities, of course. But for me to be someone who is very like, I wouldn't cover my body just because of like, oh my god, like I look so ugly, like I was never that person. So it breaks my heart when I see that there's so many women and men who think that way, and also seeing younger so like young girls thinking that way about themselves. And I've had, everybody has those types of insecurities, a majority about like how you look. But having, me having relationships with people who had low self esteem, oh my god, I can't talk, low self esteem, and body issues. But I never knew that that was like a thing we were able to work through. You know what I mean? For me, I was blessed to have two parents who never really like nagged me about my weight. And then again, that goes back to like the way how my body dysmorphia. I didn't realize I had body dysmorphia until like what, last year. My whole life I was always told that I was a big girl, big boned, always in the high percentile at the doctor. Always saying that I'm overweight. There has never been a time where I was skinny and became big. I was always thickums like this. All my baby pictures, my chubby cheeks were live and in full effect. Okay, I always had thick thighs. Always had, you know what I mean. Always had a tummy. It was never. But the way how I look back at it now, looking at myself in my baby pictures, I was even hardly chubby. Like, so the way how I feel like my family has always like made me seem to be was that I was always the big one, right? I was always the big girl out of everybody. For me, I'm Mexican and Filipino. So if you're new to just Nicolette in general, to me, to Evolve Nicolette, I am Mexican and Filipino, very, very proud of my background and my culture, my ethnicities, and being multiracial and biracial. Um, a lot of that has to stem with how Filipino culture and Mexican culture perceives image, right? Like body image and what is beautiful and what is socially accepted. You know what I'm saying? Like all that stuff played into a part of me growing up, of course. So, and I want to break that up too. I want to also deep dive into that with like somebody else. So I am working on that. I am excited that she has signed on to that. So I want to deep dive into that, like cultural, how that affects us emotionally and physically and in our whole lives, about us being, multiracial, or just, having a different, coming from a different background than others, and how that affects our image of ourselves. But for me, being Mexican, listen, because my families were never integrated. So like my Mexican side was my Mexican side. We never really had parties together. My Filipino side was my Filipino side, and that was it. So I always joke that I grew up Filipino during the week and Mexican on the weekend when I would go see my family for like a party or like a gathering or whatever. And the majority of my life, especially the first 15 years, I was neck deep in Filipino culture because my Lola and my Lolo raised me, and my Tita Francis, and being with all my Filipino cousins. So my grandpa would always lovingly refer me to as his little Mexicana, his little Bonita. Like, my grandpa was the sweetest. But yeah, he would always give me, like he would call my cheek shopao, and that is like, I don't want to say, is it like, it's not like a dessert, a bit, let's just call it a pastry. Please correct me if shopao. And it's like basically bread stuffed with meat on the inside, and they were like big white pieces of bread. So he would call my cheek shopao, so he would call me shopao. And then also, like, family members would refer to my weight, me being bigger, so I thought. And looking back, how much of a mind fuck that was, being called different names for being chubby. And I feel like that is what's very toxic about Filipino culture. Filipino culture in general is how toxic body image and how, because we are raised to not disrespect our elders, and how they're able to tell us whatever the fuck they want and us not being able to respond. That is a whole fucking episode in its own. My family was not mean about it, but I had some family members more than others criticize or critique is the better word, my weight and my appearance, and the fact that I was Mexican and Filipino. You know what I mean? I always felt like I was never Mexican enough when I was with my Mexican family. When I would never be Filipina enough when I was with my Filipino side. That's a whole nother, like, these are all several episodes in one. That's why I feel like there's so much to cover and so much that goes into like your self-esteem and how you were brought up to think and your beliefs and all this stuff. So much to deep dive into. So I just want to stay specifically on weight and body, and how my beginning was, so when I would go to my Mexican side with my Mexican family members, we were just all kind of like, I felt like we were all similarly built, but I always felt like because I was younger, I would get picked on more about my weight. Not heavily, but it was enough to the point where I knew that I was bigger than others. But when you look back at my baby pictures, I was normal. So that is the part that kills me, because I spent so much of my life, I would like to say 31 years for sure, that I was this big fat girl. When I was just chubby, honey, when I was just thick, nothing unhealthy about me. Looking back at like pictures of me in high school, how healthy I was, but yet so criticized, or like people would put so much emphasis on like how different I looked, or how I was not skinny like my cousins, and predominantly Filipinos are small and petite, majority. But as we get old, as like, cultures evolve, and as I feel like human species evolve, we are getting just bigger, because of the food that we eat, the way how we exercise, nutrition in general, the bad stuff that we eat, just humans have evolved into being bigger than we were hundreds of years ago. We're not just fucking cavemen eating plants and killing, big ass animals. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just in general, us as human beings have evolved. And I feel like for me, and now looking at, there's so many more, especially, that's why I love social media, because I've seen so many like cute, thicker Filipina girls, and how normal it is, and how we all have in common how toxic it was growing up, because we were always criticized about our weight. And that is the part that makes me so fucking sad, because it's just such a waste of time. Like, it's just such a waste of time, a waste of energy. And I feel like things could have been done so much differently when we were younger. But our parents didn't know better. Neither did our grandparents. It's just culture. But that's why you learn from your past, so that you could break those cycles with your children, with your nieces and nephews, with the next generation. So for me, I was just never someone who walked around with low self-esteem, because I had to be like proud about what I look like, at least think I look decent, or else I used it as a shield. I used it as a shield to protect, like, the fact that I knew that I was bigger, I felt like I had the leg up on everybody else, because you couldn't make fun of me about my weight, because I already know, bitch. Like, what else you got to say? That's all you got to say, is to make fun of me about my weight, So that's why I feel like I'm so, is the phrase quick-lipped, like, or, my tongue is just so spicy, or me just having, my pettiness level is so high, you know what I mean? the fact that I'm able to cut you with my words, I feel like stems from me having to always be on the defensive about a lot of aspects of my life. Me being multiracial, me being thicker than other people, me being taller. That was also the thing too, is that I'm 5'7". And so I was like big in every sense of the word, being in Filipino terms, like I have a size 10 foot. Do you understand? I had that since I was what, 12? That is insane. Like you don't get the cute little feet, cute little shoes, and people telling you how cute your feet are, blah blah blah. So ever since I could remember, my mom always took me to go get a pedicure and keep my shit on 100. You know what I mean? Like I was always ready, and I feel like I thought this whole time that was because of my self-esteem was so high, but no, it was because I was in defense mode for most of my life, having to like combat all these, like, I could easily get made fun of for my feet. I could easily get made fun of for my height. My name was, very, would also be something that would be made fun of, like, don't call me Nickelodeon. I've already heard it, or Nicolette. Like, we could talk about all these things, but how I've embraced them. And that's not even the right word either, because I use all of those things as my defensive wall to make me mentally stronger and ready for whoever had something to say, which as a result makes me fucking sad for young Nico, because she had to always be ready for whatever somebody had to criticize her about. And I know that there's so many people that walk around like that, where we think that they are so confident, but they had to, because people had always something to say about them. Do you know what I'm saying? Thankfully, I didn't have a mom and a dad that really, my dad would always be like, you're big boned, So it was something for me that was like very, I had to get with it. I had to get it together and not let anybody be one step ahead of me. I had to be one step ahead of them with the jokes or with the comments, and be able to cut them with my tongue, to be like, shut the fuck up, you're ugly, so which was a good thing, because I could have easily been eaten alive in this world if I was this little dainty thing that did not get it together. But then I did come from a strong mom and dad, and I feel like my Filipino side, I did get made fun of a little bit, but it wasn't like crazy. I feel like for that from both sides, but throughout my whole life, and growing up, like especially when you're in your adolescence, you want, you're having crushes and stuff like that, and you're wanting to think like, how come people are not into me? Or because you're too tall, because you look different, you know what I mean? I also was blessed to be raised in a city that was so diverse. I had poly friends, so like Polynesian friends, Black friends, all types of Latino friends, majority Mexican, of course, hella bunch of Filipino friends, just Asian friends in general. I only had like one white friend growing up. So you know what I mean? Like, I was just someone that was just immersed in so many different cultures also, because of where I came from. Shout out to Carson, California, the 90745. That's why I ride so hard for my city, man, because it's a beautiful place. It's hood, but definitely a beautiful melting pot of so many different cultures. But yeah, like, I feel like that is a great beginning of where to like start my story and how I grew up. And I kind of felt like a lot of people, I feel like family members, when I would talk about, like when I was younger and they would see me get sensitive about like them making fun of me, or it would always be with that tone of like, this is tough love. I'm trying to get you ready for the world out there because it's rough. And if you can't take it in here, you're not going to survive out there. I heard that a lot growing up, where you better take these jokes and be able to handle them, or else people that don't even know you will make fun of you, and that's really what's gonna fucking hurt, you know? Where in actuality, I wish that it wouldn't have been so much tough love, that it would have been a little bit more compassion and a little bit more just love. um I wouldn't have been so late to realize self-worth. You know, I wouldn't have been so hard on myself all these years. um and I just feel like this is something that could easily have been, you know, my story could have easily been a little bit different if I would have got more, like, you know, people gassing me up as I was younger. You know, like, Nico, you fire. What the fuck are you talking about? You know, I didn't really get that until I got older. But still, nobody's really doing that for me until, like, you know, like now. And that's the thing, though, is that somebody doesn't have to do that for you. And I do that enough for myself now. But I get how important that is now when you do that at such a young age. That's why I never let anybody try to point out flaws about my kids or try to poke fun about my sons, because I don't want them to have, listen, we're going to teach them to be tough, but I'm not going to teach them to be so tough that they don't know how to, like, love on themselves at the end of the day. So I gas my sons up all the time of how handsome they are, of how, you know, strong they are, how brave, how courageous they are to go to school every day and to, you know, to learn and to, you know what I mean? Just to pump them up. It's not all about looks, but the inside and how strong and resilient we are as human beings. And I want to teach that in my sons, because it wasn't done enough to me. And it's okay, because, you know, my parents and my family, you know, my elders, their parents didn't do that for them. So they didn't really know how to do that. That wasn't really a thing, you know? So I'm glad that we have these types of conversations now and these types of platforms to talk about this stuff, so that the next generation won't have such of a hard time with their emotions, and to be emotionally mature sooner rather than later in life. So just trying to keep this episode short and sweet. There's so many ways and routes I could take with this. You've seen me kind of jump around. I really tried to stay on track, but that is the basis of how Nico grew up. And I'm just so glad to be having this conversation. It wasn't something that I thought that I should be sharing content on until I got on TikTok and was seeing all these beautiful, big, luscious women wearing two-piece bikinis and twerking without giving a fuck. Like, my little fupa could never. Okay? Like, why am I so self-conscious about what I have when all these girls are doing all this beautiful shit and encouraging women like me to do what they want to do in life, when it's so simple to wear a two-piece bikini no matter what the fuck you look like? So that is why I fucks with TikTok all day, because the amount of content and just, there's so much more love on there. It's so much more real on there than it is on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm just glad, because I feel like, not that I got permission, but the encouragement that I saw on TikTok from people loving on themselves, and how inspiring that is to, like, also help inspire others to love on themselves also. So that is it for today. I'm so excited that this is fucking happening, and I finally have a background that's fucking decent. This whole setup is cool. One day I will show you what the fuck this room looks like, but I'm so excited that this is popping off. I feel like I've worked so hard. I can't wait just to see growth. Like, this, I mean, to be evolving like this is amazing. So this is a series of different episodes, so I'm excited to fucking press play and start this conversation. I will see you guys next time. So thank you so much for listening and watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, do all the reviews, honey. I love it. It helps me out. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful, beautiful, blessed day.